for the month of September, it's going to be intense, right? There's no other words to describe the month of September, simply because we're going to have two eclipses. The first on the 7th of September, full moon in Pisces eclipse, lunar eclipse, and the second one would be at the 21st of September, the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. Not only that, we also going to have several planet ingresses into several signs. On the 1st of September, Saturn, that's already retrograde, will enter Pisces once again. And then on the 2nd of September, we're going to have Mercury enters its sign of exaltation, Virgo, right? And then on the 7th, the full moon lunar eclipse, and then on the 18th, Mercury leaves Virgo and enter into Libra. On the 19th, Venus will enter its sign of debilitation or fall in Virgo. And then on the 21st, we're going to have new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, right, on the 21st of September. And then on the 22nd, we're going to have Mars enter Scorpio, its sign of domicile. And then on the 22nd also, we're going to have Sun ingress into Libra, its sign of detriment. And then on the 23rd, we're going to have the Sun opposing Neptune. And then after that, on the 24th, we're going to have a challenging day with Mars in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius. So September is going to be intense due to the eclipses. And also, many planets are changing signs. And Saturn, the heavyweights, already retrograde, will enter Pisces once again. This is our last chance to clean up the Pisces part of our chart. So these are going to be my simple explanation on the effects of these transits and eclipses for the month of September for all 12 rising signs. Okay, for the first rising sign for the month of September, we're going to go to Aries rising, the most accurate, followed by Aries sun and Aries moon. Okay, for my dear Aries rising friends, this month of September, we're going to see two eclipses, and also we're also going to focus on your chart ruler, which is Mars, that's going to enter Scorpio, also its sign of domicile, the sign that is owned by Mars, the ruler of Scorpio. The other ruler would be Mars, right? It will enter Scorpio later in the month, but for Aries rising, Saturn will temporarily leave your sign and enters Pisces on the 1st of September. On the 2nd, of course, Mercury ingress into Virgo. On the 18th, Mercury ingress into Libra. On the 19th, Venus ingress into Virgo. On the 22nd, right, the Sun will ingress into Libra, your opposite sign, and then Mars, your ruler, will enter Scorpio on the same day. And then we have Sun opposing Neptune, still in your sign, right, on the 23rd. And then on the 24th, you have to be careful, Aries. On the 24th, your ruler, Mars in Scorpio, will square Pluto in Aquarius. But the heavyweights for this month, of course, not just for you Aries rising, but for all rising signs, would be the lunar eclipse in Pisces and the solar eclipse in Virgo. For you Aries rising, because you are the first sign, so your natal chart or your chart placement will be the natural order. So the houses that will be activated by the eclipses and transits in this month would be your first house, would be your 12th house, right, and then would be your 11th house. And then on the opposite side, you'll be your 8th house, would be your 7th house, and also, of course, your 6th house. So the eclipse will happen on your 12th and 6th house axis. The lunar eclipse on the 7th, Pisces, your 12th house. The solar eclipse on the 21st will be on your 6th house. So pay attention to your mental health, 12th house, and your physical health and your work and your pets, 6th house. And then pay attention to your partner and relationship and business partnership or your spouse, because Sun will enter your 7th house, right? Sun will also oppose by Neptune in the first house, still in you, right? And then Saturn will temporarily leave your first house and enter your 12th house again, right? Enters Pisces. And then the square from Pluto will come from the 11th house, your friends, networking, social media. It will square your chart ruler, which is Mars in Scorpio in your 8th house. 8th house is investments, shared resources, intimacy, crisis, transformation. This is the house of the heavy stuff. So for Aries rising, your focus would be on the 8th house later in the month, because your chart ruler will be there. It will be squared by Pluto, so be careful. And I also almost forgot that Venus, the ruler of your 7th house, right, and also the 2nd house, because Venus rules Taurus and Libra, will enter a sign of debilitation, which is Virgo in your 6th house. So you also have to be careful really relating to your relationship and your money. Okay, for the second rising sign, we will go to Taurus rising, the most accurate, followed by Taurus sun and Taurus moon. For my dear Taurus rising friends, the eclipses that will happen in Pisces and Virgo, right? At the same time, these eclipses will activate your Pisces and Virgo house. And also on the 1st of September, we're going to have Saturn retrograde back to Pisces. 2nd of September, we're going to have Mercury enters Virgo. On the 18th, Mercury enters Libra. On the 19th, this is important for you, Taurus. Why? Because your chart ruler, which is Venus, will enter its sign of debilitation, which is Virgo. Right? For you, Venus will enter your 5th house. It is in the sign that it's not comfortable in, debilitation. The sign where it could perform, or the sign where Venus is shackled, right? But there is a saving grace. Venus will enter Virgo, but it will be in the house where it is lovely to be in, the 5th house. 5th house is the house where Venus finds joy. So 5th house will be activated, and then of course the sun will end the eclipses, Pisces and Virgo, and then the sun will enter Libra. The sun will be opposed by Neptune, and then Mars will enter your 7th house in Scorpio. Be careful not to fight with your spouse or any people you're in a relationship with, including partnership and business. And then of course you will have Mars in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius. So houses that will be activated for my dear Taurus rising friends would be your 12th house, Aries, right? Your 11th house, Pisces. Your 10th house, Aquarius. Pluto is there. The eclipses is there. Saturn is also in Pisces, 11th house. And then Neptune is still in Aries. And then other houses that will be activated, of course, would be your 7th house, your 6th house, and your 5th house. Your chart ruler, which is Venus, will enter Virgo in your 5th house. Eclipses will also happen there. So eclipses will happen in the axis of creativity, which is Pisces, 11th house, and Virgo, 5th house. Right? And then Libra, sun will enter your 6th house, focus on your health and work. And then Mars will enter your 7th house, partnership. So pay attention to those houses, especially the houses of the eclipse, 11th and 5th, and the houses where your chart ruler is going to transit, which is the 5th house, right, in Virgo, which also happens to be the house where the eclipse is going to happen, and also Scorpio. Mars is there opposing you. Okay, for the third rising sign, we will go to Gemini rising, the most accurate, followed by Gemini sun and Gemini moon. For my dear Gemini rising friends, this month of September is going to be intense. Why? Because the eclipses are both immutable signs, Pisces and Virgo, and you are the first mutable sign. So it will square you heavily. So for my Gemini rising Friends, solar eclipse in Virgo will happen in your 4th house, right? And then for lunar eclipse in Pisces will happen in your 10th house. So your home and your career will be in focus. Not only that, on the 1st of September, Saturn will enter your 10th house temporarily again. 2nd of September, for you Gemini rising, you have to focus, of course, on your chart ruler, which is Mercury. This in the month of September, Mercury will ingress into 2 different signs. First, Virgo, the sign of its exaltation, and then second, Libra. So your chart ruler, which will enter your 4th house earlier in the month, 2nd of September, and then after that, on the 18th of September, Mercury, your chart ruler, will enter Libra, which is your 5th house, right? And then the eclipses 10 and 4th, and then after that, Venus will also enters Virgo, your 4th house, on the 19th. After your chart ruler Mercury enters Libra, right, the day before, on the 21st, of course, solar eclipse in Virgo in your 4th house, right? And then after that, we're going to have the Sun enters your 5th house, because for Gemini, Libra is your 5th house. Sun enters your 5th house, and at the same time, Mars will also enter your 6th house. Don't worry, Mars will enter its house of joy, because Mars is really, really dutiful in the sign of Scorpio in the 6th house. So this is actually can be really productive for you, right? And then on the 22nd, right, Sun and Mars move signs into your 5th and your 6th house. And then the next day, 23rd, the Sun will be opposed by Neptune in Aries in your 11th house, right? Because your 11th house is Aries, your 12th house is Taurus, Gemini your 1st, right? And then on the 24th, Mars will be squared by Pluto in Aquarius. For you Gemini rising, Aquarius, Pluto is in your 9th house, and then Mars will be in your 6th house. So the houses that will be activated in the month of September would be the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, right? And then would be the house of the 11th, the 10th, and the 9th. Okay, for the 4th rising sign, we will go to Cancer rising, the most accurate, followed by Cancer sun and Cancer moon. For my dear Cancer rising friends, this month will be intense, but for you, this month will be intensely, well, it will be intensely great if you know how to deal with it. Why? Because for Cancer rising, your chart ruler is the moon, and the moon will be part of both eclipses, but especially the lunar eclipse, the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces that will happen in your 9th house, right? Because for Cancer rising, Scorpio will be your 5th, and then Pisces will be your 9th. So Pisces is in the same element as you, water, and this eclipse will happen in your Pisces house, which is your whole sign 9th house, if you use whole signs astrology like I do, right? So 9th house is the house of luck. So this could turn out to be great, but you also have to be mindful of your own personal natal chart, so you have to look, right? But either way, eclipses are unpredictable, but we can lessen the negative impact of eclipses if we surrender, pray, and just be positive, right? Look at the bigger picture, which is the 9th house actually. So for my Cancer rising friends, this month of September, on the 1st, we're going to have Saturn ingress back, retrograding back into Pisces temporarily, your 9th house, right? And then on the 2nd, we're going to have Mercury enters Virgo. On the 7th, the lunar eclipse. On the 18th, Mercury enters Libra. 19th, Venus enters Virgo. 21st, solar eclipse in Virgo in your 3rd house. And then on the 22nd, we're going to have the Sun ingress into Libra. Libra would be your 4th house. And then at the same time, Mars will enter Scorpio. Scorpio will be your 5th house, right? And then after that, we're going to have Sun opposed by Neptune in your 10th house. So Neptune is still in your 10th, right? And then it's retrograding, but it's still in your 10th. And then Sun will enter your already in your 4th house, Libra. So it will be opposing each other. So there will be some activation in terms of your house, your family, your mother, and then your career, your public image. And after that, we're going to have Pluto and Aquarius square Mars in Scorpio. Right? Scorpio would be your 5th house, Aquarius, right? Aquarius would be your 8th house. Because for Cancer rising, your 10th is Aries, your 9th is Pisces, your 8th would be Aquarius. So Pluto will be there, squaring Mars. So between 8th house, the houses that will be activated this month for you, Cancer rising, are not just the eclipse houses, but it will be the 8th house, Pluto, and then the 9th house, Pisces, the eclipse, yes, lunar eclipse, and then the 10th house, Aries, and then other houses that will be activated would be your Scorpio house, which is your 5th, and then your Libra house, which is your 4th, and then your Virgo house, another house where the eclipse will happen, which is your 3rd. So just be mindful of your communication, 3rd house, your family, 4th house, your creativity and your children, 5th house, and then your career, 10th house, your travel, 9th house, your higher learning, and also your shared resources and investments, 8th house. Okay, for the next rising sign, we will go to Leo rising, the most accurate, followed by Leo sun and Leo moon. For my dear Leo rising friends, this month will going to be intense because your chart ruler, which is the sun, will be involved in in solar eclipse. Your ruler, which is you, going to be eclipsed by the moon in Virgo. It will happen in your 2nd house. So there's going to be something major in terms of money, finances, that will be activated by the eclipse in your 2nd house, Virgo. And then another eclipse will be opposing that on the 7th. The solar eclipse will be on the 21st, so the lunar eclipse will be the 1st. It will be on your 8th house, Pisces. Not only that, Saturn will retrograde back to Pisces on the 1st, your 8th house, right? And then Mercury will enter Virgo, your 2nd house, and then on the 7th, of course, the lunar eclipse, your 8th house again. And then on the 18th, Mercury will leave your 2nd house, Virgo, and enters Libra, which is your 3rd house. And then after that, Venus will enter Virgo, your 2nd house, right? And then after that, we're going to see the solar eclipse, you being eclipsed in Virgo, the 2nd house also. Once again, 2nd house, because for Leo rising, Virgo is your 2nd house. Money. This is the house of money, resources, material. So, and then after that, we're going to have the sun enters Libra, your 3rd house, and then Mars enters Scorpio, which is your 4th house, right? And then after that, we're going to have the sun opposed by Neptune, sun opposed Neptune in your 9th house. So the Neptune is still in your 9th, opposing the sun currently in your 3rd house, right? And then after that, we're going to have Mars squared by Pluto in Aquarius. Mars is in Scorpio, your 4th house. Be careful with your relationship with your family, your home. Be careful, right? Your home, your family could be, there could be lots and lots of heated energy in your home. So be careful with Mars there. Mars will be opposed by, not opposed, but squared by Pluto and Aquarius, which is currently in your 7th house. So there's going to be some trouble or some ignition in terms of your conflict in your home and also in your partnership, relationship with other people, 7th house, Pluto. So be very careful. But of course, eclipses in your 2nd and your 8th house. Both are money houses. So houses that will be activated this month for you, Leo, is quite heavy. These are heavy, important houses, like the 2nd and the 8th, money, the 3rd, right, and then the 4th, and then of course the 7th, angle. The 4th and 7th are angular houses, right? The 7th house, and then after that your 8th house, and after that your 9th house. So just be mindful of your relationship with money, your family, and other people. Okay, for the 6th rising sign, we will go to Virgo rising, the most accurate, followed by Virgo sun and Virgo moon. For my dear Virgo rising friends, this month of September, you are the star, because the eclipse will happen, and also several of the major transits this month will happen in your sign, right? Solar eclipse, new moon solar eclipse in Virgo in your sign, first house, as well as Mercury ingress into Virgo earlier on the month, and then Venus ingress into Virgo on the 19th. So on the month of September, we're going to have Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces, your 7th house, and then on the 2nd, your chart ruler, which is Mercury, yes, same with Gemini, your chart ruler, enters the 1st house, you. And then on the 7th, we're going to have lunar eclipse on your 7th house, partnership, relationship, and then on the 18th, Mercury, your chart ruler, moves from you, 1st house, into the 2nd house, which is Libra, money. And then after that, Venus will move from your 12th house into your 1st house, Virgo, right? And then after that, we're going to have this solar, new moon solar eclipse in your sign, in the 1st house. Be careful of your body. Take care of it, right? And then after that, we're going to have the sun ingress into Libra. For you, Virgo, Libra is your 2nd house. Sun ingress into Libra. And then the sun, in the same day, 22nd, Mars will leave Libra, your 2nd house, and enters Scorpio, your 3rd house. And then at the next day, 23rd, we're going to have the sun opposed by Neptune. The sun is in Libra, your 2nd house. Neptune is still in Aries, your 8th house. So opposition there. And then on the 24th, we're going to have a very strong Mars in your 3rd house, Scorpio, squared by a very radical, intense energy of Pluto and Aquarius, right, in your 6th house. So houses that will be activated for you, Virgo, are the 1st house, the 2nd house, the 3rd house, the 6th house, right, the 7th house, and the 8th house. These are houses that deals with relationship, body, health, and also money. So be very careful, mindful, and just relax. I know the energy is not easy, very intense, but this is necessary for our growth and the betterment of our journey on this planet. Okay, for the 7th rising sign, we will go to Libra rising, the most accurate, followed by Libra sun and Libra moon. Okay, for my dear Libra rising friends, this month of September is going to be interesting for you, right? Because the focus for you, especially on the eclipses, will be on your 12th and 6th house axis. The focus is between letting go of the 12th house and getting more of the 6th house. So letting go of the mental clutter or realm of mental health, letting go of the bad stuff and getting more of the good stuff of the 6th house, right? Which is about creating structures for your daily life, routines, work, your physical health, as well as your pets. The eclipses will activate these 2 houses. Not only that, your chart ruler, which is Venus, will also enter your 12th house, the sign of the same sign as the eclipse, solar eclipse. So Venus will enter Virgo on the 19th, and then on the 21st, there's going to be a solar eclipse also in the house, 12th house. So on the 1st, we're going to have Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces, your 6th house. On the 2nd, we're going to have Mercury enters Virgo, 12th house, and then on the 7th, the full moon lunar eclipse in your 6th house, work, right, health. And then on the 18th, we're going to have Mercury ingress into Libra, which is your first house, right? And then after that, we're going to have your chart ruler, which is very important. You and Taurus have the same chart ruler, which is Venus. Venus will enter Virgo in your 12th house, right? And then this is a time where you want to be more hidden. I'm not saying that you need to hide yourself. No, it's just that more internal contemplating. So contemplating about your condition. I mean, where do you want to go in your life, especially when it comes to mental health, right? So after the 18th and 19th, and also the eclipse on the 21st, solar eclipse in your 12th house Virgo, we're going to have on the 22nd, 2 transits. Sun enters Libra. The sun will offer brightness to you in your first house. And then after that, Mars will enter Scorpio, your second house. Right? And then the day after that, on the 23rd, we're going to have the sun opposed by Neptune, still in your 7th house. And on the 24th, we're going to have Mars in Scorpio squared by Pluto and Aquarius in your 5th house, 2nd and 5th house. So houses that will be activated, not just by the eclipses, but also by the ingress of your chart ruler, which is Venus, will be the 12th house, the 6th house, the 7th house, the 5th house, the 1st house, and the 2nd house. So when the sun enters your sign on the 22nd, it's time for you to shine. But your chart ruler, which is Venus, is still in your 12th house. Right? So there's this tug of war between I want to rest, I want to reclaim my mental health, 12th house, with the sun in your 1st house. I want to be seen. So for you, Libra rising, my dear Libra rising friends, you know how to deal with it. Find a balance between rest, 12th house, work, 6th house, you yourself, what you need, 1st house, and what other people's need, and the needs of other people, or your relationship with other people, which is the 7th house. And of course, also there's going to be activation in terms of money, 2nd house, and creativity, 5th house. So there's a lot going on in the month of September, but please find balance between rest, work, and relationship. Okay, for the 8th rising sign, we will go to Scorpio rising, the most accurate, followed by Scorpio sun and Scorpio moon. For my dear Scorpio rising friends, this month of September, your chart ruler, which is Mars, is going to enter your sign, but later in the month. So you're going to get extra dose of energy. But on the 1st of September, we're going to have Saturn back into Pisces, retrogrades back into Pisces, enters Pisces. On the 2nd, we're going to have Mercury enters Virgo. On the 7th, full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. On the 18th, Mercury enters Libra. On the 19th, Venus enters Virgo. On the 21st, new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. And then on the 22nd, Sun enters Libra, and then your chart ruler on the same day enters Scorpio, your sign, 1st house. On the 23rd, Sun opposed by Neptune, right, in your 6th house, which is Aries, right? And then after that, on the 24th, your chart ruler, which is, actually it's not just Mars, your chart ruler. You have 2 chart rulers, Mars and Pluto. On the 24th, Mars will square Pluto. So both of your chart rulers will square each other. So there's going to be a very strong inner tension, inner turmoil. So the houses that will be activated by the eclipse first will be your Virgo house, which is your 11th house, and your Pisces house, which is your 5th house. So between friendship, networking, and social media, eclipses will be happening there, Virgo, right? And then your Pisces part, which is your children, your creativity, your romance, your hobbies, right? So these two houses, the houses of creativity, the houses of self-expression, will be activated by these two eclipses. Other than the 11th and the 5th, other houses that will be activated by the ingress or transit during the month of September will be your 12th house, because the sun will be there illuminating your 12th house. This is the time for rest for you, but your chart ruler will move into your first house. So once again, it's like contradiction between the sun in your 12th, sleep, and Mars, energy, burst of energy in your first. So 11th, 12th, and the 1st will be activated, right? And then after that, activation will also come from your 5th house, Pisces, your 4th house, Pluto is there, Aquarius, and then your 6th house, Aries. So it's about health, mental health, physical health, friendship, children, creativity, and your personal drive, which is Mars ingress into Scorpio at the 24th. And also tension between yourself, the 1st house, and your family, the 4th house, with Aquarius, or Pluto and Aquarius is currently in your 4th house. So be very mindful with your relationship with your family. Okay, for the 9th rising sign, we will go to Sagittarius rising, the most accurate, followed by Sagittarius sun and Sagittarius moon. For my dear Sagittarius rising friends, this month of September will be quite intense for you. Why? Because just like Gemini and Virgo and Pisces, you are mutable sign. And the eclipses will happen in Pisces and Virgo axis, which is mutable axis. So you will be heavily impacted by this eclipse, by these two eclipses. So for my dear Sagittarius rising friends, the eclipses first, Pisces lunar eclipse on the 7th will trigger your 4th house, family. And then Virgo solar eclipse on the 21st will trigger your 10th house, career. So this is a classic case of juggling between career and home, right? On the 1st, Saturn will retrograde back into Pisces. On the 2nd, Mercury will be ingress into Virgo, 7th, of course, the lunar eclipse in your 4th house. And then on the 18th, Mercury will enter Libra, and then on the 19th, Venus will enter Virgo, your 10th house, right? So Venus will help. Mercury also will help, but it will move on from Virgo and then enters Libra, your 11th house. And then after that, we're going to have the Sun enters Libra, right? Your 11th house, and then Mars will enter Scorpio, which is your 12th house. And after that, we're going to have the Sun opposed by Aries, which is your 5th house. And then on the 24th, we're going to have Mars in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius in your 3rd house. So houses that will be activated by you would be the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. Yeah, right? The 3rd will be Aquarius, your 4th will be Pisces, and your 5th will be Aries. And then other houses that will be activated will be Virgo, your 10th house, Libra, your 11th house, and Scorpio will be your 12th house. So this is about rest, dreams, friendship, career, home, family, right? Communication, siblings, as well as creativity and children. All of these houses and the theme associated with these houses will be activated by you, will be activated by the transit and by the eclipses. So be very mindful. Okay, for the 10th rising sign, we will go to Capricorn rising, the most accurate, followed by Capricorn sun and Capricorn moon. Okay, for my dear Capricorn rising friends, this entire month will start on the 1st of September with your chart ruler, which is Saturn, ingress back into Pisces after a motion of retrogradation. So Pisces would be your 3rd house. So Saturn will move temporarily there. And then on the 2nd of September, Mercury enters Virgo. 7th, we're going to have a lunar eclipse also in your 3rd house. And then on the 18th, we're going to have Mercury enters Libra. On the 19th, Venus enters Virgo. On the 21st, we're going to have solar eclipse in Virgo in your 8th house. I'm sorry, Virgo will be in your 9th house because you're Capricorn rising. Virgo will be your 9th house, right? And then after that, we're going to have Sun enters Libra, your 10th house, and then Mars enters Scorpio, right? Scorpio for you will be your 11th house. And then on the 23rd, Sun will be opposed by Neptune in your 4th house. And then on the 24th, we're going to have Mars in Scorpio squared by Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius will be in your 2nd house. So houses that will be activated for you, my dear Capricorn rising friends, will be your 2nd house, Aquarius, your 3rd house, Pisces, your 4th house, Aries, as well as your 11th house, Scorpio, your 10th house, Libra, and your 9th house, Virgo. So the eclipses will happen in your 9th house, 3rd house axis. The lunar eclipse will be happening in Pisces, your 3rd house, communication, siblings, gadgets, vehicles, right? And then the solar eclipse in Virgo will happen in your 9th house, traveling, foreign lands, anything foreign. This is also about philosophy of life, book publishing. So these 2 houses will be activated by the eclipses. The Sun will ingress into Libra, bringing focus into your career. Your chart ruler will ingress back, retrograde back into Pisces, which is your 3rd house. With your focus now temporarily will be shifting from your 4th house, Aries, into your 3rd house, communication. This is also the house where the eclipse will happen on the 7th. Right, lunar eclipse in Pisces. So these houses, so the theme for you, Capricorn rising, will be communication. Communication and also money, friendship, career, travel, and also family. So just be mindful. Okay, for the 11th rising sign, we will go to Aquarius rising, the most accurate, followed by Aquarius sun and Aquarius moon. For my dear Aquarius rising friends, this month of September, right? Starting on the 1st, your chart ruler, well, not just your chart ruler, you have 2 chart rulers, Saturn and Uranus. Your chart ruler Saturn will ingress back into Pisces, your 2nd house. On the 2nd, we're going to have Mercury enters Virgo. On the 7th, lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 2nd house. And then on the 18th, you're going to have Mercury enters Libra. On the 19th, Venus enters Virgo, and then on the 21st, solar eclipse in Virgo, right? And then on the 22nd, Sun enters Libra, and then at the same day, Mars enters Scorpio. On the 23rd, we're going to have the Sun opposed by Neptune, and then on the 24th, we're going to have Mars in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius. So houses that will be activated firstly by the eclipse would be your 2nd house, lunar eclipse in Pisces, and then your 8th house, solar eclipse in Virgo. So this eclipse will highlight your money axis, 2nd house and 8th house, your money axis, whether it's your personal money or other people's money, 8th house. So be careful of your money and investment also. Right? Not only that, after the eclipses, Saturn will will retrograde back into Pisces temporarily, adding more urgency towards financial matters, 2nd house. Yes? And then after that, Mercury will enter Virgo, and then Venus also will enter Virgo. Once again, of course, adding more urgency towards other parts of the financial axis, which is the 8th house, shared resources. And then Sun will enter Libra, which is your 9th house, right? And then Mars will enter Scorpio, which is your 10th house, squared by Pluto and Aquarius, your first house, you. So houses that will be activated would be Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, first, second, and third. And then Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, which is the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. So this month is all about money, career, right? And then your sense of self, the first house, and also communication. So just be mindful, especially on the eclipses that will happen on the money axis. Be careful. Do your research when it comes to investments. And also because Mars will enter your 10th house and it will be squared by Pluto and Aquarius in the first house, you. So also be very mindful not to create frictions with people in your office or people that you work with in terms of your career, 10th house. Okay, for the last rising sign, we will go to Pisces rising, the most accurate, followed by Pisces sun and Pisces moon. For my dear Pisces rising friends, you are the second star. Together with Virgo, both of you are the star of this month because the lunar eclipse will happen in your sign, Pisces. So there's going to be something major in terms of your body, your appearance, your aura, your personality, right? Something major is going to happen. Not only that, on the 1st of September, Saturn will ingress back temporarily into Pisces, your first house. So Saturn will add structure. Saturn will finish its job in Pisces. So basically, you need to catch up with Saturn lessons. Or please do not fail, because Saturn lessons is important. This retrograde of Saturn back into your sign is telling you that Saturn will finish its lessons and you need to pass the test. Plus the eclipses, this month is going to be intense, challenging, but as a Pisces, you always know how to deal with it by surrender and trust in the higher good. Trust that there's going to be a higher purpose for you. The eclipses also will happen in your 7th house, solar eclipse in Virgo. So eclipses also not only will affect you, but it will also affect your partner, your spouse, your business partnership included, any contracts. So be very mindful of signing any contract. And then after that, the sun will ingress into Libra, your 8th house, right? And then Mars will enter Scorpio, your 9th house. So the 1st of September, Saturn ingresses back into Pisces. The 2nd, Mercury enters Virgo. The 7th, the lunar eclipse in your sign. And then on the 18th, Mercury enters Libra. And the 19th, Venus enters Virgo. 21st, solar eclipse in Virgo, your 7th house. And then on the 22nd, we're going to have the Sun enters Libra, your 8th house. And then Mars enters Scorpio, your 9th house. Okay, and then after that, we're going to have Sun opposed by Neptune in Aries, 3rd, and which is Libra is your 8th house. Aries, which is your 2nd house. So there's going to be opposition there. And then, of course, Mars in Scorpio in your 9th house square Pluto and Aquarius, right, in your 11th house. So houses that will be activated will be the 12th, the 1st, the 2nd, right, and then the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. So it's about you, about sleep and rest, about money, and then about relationship with other people and your spouse, Virgo, about shared resources and intimacy, Libra, 8th house, and then about traveling, higher learning, philosophy of life, Mars in Scorpio, the 9th house. So these houses will be activated. So it's about you, your rest, your money, your relationship with others, and also about your travel and also investments, because 8th house, Sun will enter Libra, which is your 8th house. 8th house is also investments, psychology, right? This is the house of the occult. This is the house where we bury things. So these houses will be activated, but the eclipses will happen in the 1st and the 7th angular. Eclipses will happen in you and your spouse, your partner, 7. So be very mindful, because this eclipse is angular for you. So it will have a very heavy impact on you and also your partnership. For astrology, simply knowing our rising sign is not enough. We also have to integrate the energies by also watching our sun sign and our moon sign. Our rising sign is the key, yes indeed. It will show us our place in the world and how we interact with the world. That's the rising sign. But for a deeper, richer understanding of our chart, we need also to understand our sun sign, which is our ego, our soul, our purpose, and also our moon sign, which is our emotion, subconscious, and the nurturing pattern that we have. So integrating astrology into our life would be much, much more efficient and effective if we also look at predictions, not just from me, but also from other astrologers, by not only using the rising sign, but also the sun sign and the moon sign. So I really hope, if you enjoyed my videos, I really hope you to not only look at the predictions for your rising sign, but also the predictions for your moon and also your sun sign. If you want to look at your career, look at your rising sign or your sun sign. If you want to look at your home, your emotions, or maybe your mother, look at your moon sign and also your rising sign. But either way, integrate all three so you can get a better, clearer view of what's going on in your life. And also, don't forget to subscribe and like my videos. Thank you very much.